Hello everybody, it's me, it's PokemonTripHD. Welcome back to some more Dragalia content. In today's video, this is going to be a continuation of the Meta Talk series that I began not too long ago, I believe, with the Fractured Futures event. This is going to be me discussing the Halloween units from Halloween Fantasia 2. Not the first one, just the second one. Again, if you want me to make a video on the first one, I guess I could do that in the future. But for now, I'm just going to be focusing on Halloween Fantasia 2, which features 4 new units in total. Those being, of course, Halloween Mim, Halloween Odetta, Halloween Lowen, and finally a dragon, Halloween Maritimus. So I'm going to be discussing these 4 units in today's video, kind of where they fit into the meta and what I think of them, etc., etc. Now, I kind of already talked about them in the Dragalia Lost and Found podcast episode from, I believe, yesterday, 2 days ago. No, I think it was 2 days ago. So you probably already have a vague idea on what I want to say about them. But yeah, I do just want to kind of make this video and discuss them a little bit more in detail and in depth. Again, this is a pretty late video, just been super busy with life. As you can tell, I haven't really uploaded much in the past, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. I have been streaming a little bit. I've been really enjoying streaming over on Twitch. So, of course, I do stream on YouTube and on Twitch. It's kind of like a dual stream. But I do recommend you follow me over on Twitch if you want to see all the streams, just because that's a better streaming experience. But yeah, anyways, that's not today's video. Today's video is the meta talk, like I said. So let's just begin the discussion with using the DPS sim. Now, of course, the DPS sim, every time I use it, I want to say that it's not 100% accurate. There's a lot of things that DPS sim does not take into account. So you have to keep that in mind whenever you're looking at this DPS sim. I've already discussed it multiple times in depth. So yeah, again, I just kind of want to make this video and see, were my thoughts correct when I made the should you summon video? That's kind of the main point of this video. You know, was my should you summon video that I made on these units correct? Was it accurate? You know, where do they stand now? Now this like I said, this is really late, so obviously you can't pull for these units anymore. Otherwise, I would say, like, okay, maybe you should actually pull for these units, or maybe you shouldn't, etc. So yeah, I do need to make the meta talk video on the current Stirring Shadows units, which again, I'll try making within the next couple days. I'll say within this next week, and yeah, it should be out then. But anyways, let's just begin the discussion talking with Halloween Mim. This is probably going to be a big majority of the discussion. So as you can see, by the DPS sim, Halloween Mim is actually way down here. This is, of course, her most optimal setup according to the DPS sim, Kung Fu Masters, and Jewels of the Sun. Now, this is assuming you buff the entire team with your skill 2, and then also get your skill 1 off, etc. Skill 1 defense down for 10 seconds, HP 70 as well. So this gives you the optimal DPS. But if you look at this, the difference between your DPS, 4,800 and 2,600. That is a very big range of like a difference that you can get in there between your attacks. That's, you know, look at Emma, about 6,000 and 2,100. So another huge range. Of course, they're both buffing or debuffing characters. That's what they both are. And now, of course, Emma buffs, and Halloween Mim kind of buffs and debuffs, does them both at the same time. So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of competition for Halloween Mim when it comes to buffing. You know, not only buffing, you know, if you're buffing, would you rather use Halloween Mim on your team or an Emma? You know, it's tough there. You know, the co-ability difference is huge as well. She also has a new co-ability, or you could use Emma, which is again the HP survivability co-ability. Of course, Emma does not have stun res, but you've already seen Emma is amazing even without stun res. There's also competition. You know, if you're using an axe on your team, would you rather have Halloween Mim or Ramona? So that's another big, another big debate. Of course, Ramona has insane DPS just by herself. It's absolutely ridiculous. Of course, that's mainly due to her skill 1, which is insane. But let's actually, again, her main objective, let's actually just go over her kit really quick. This is Halloween Mim, of course. Her skill 1 basically deals 2 hits of very weak flame damage enemies directly ahead, and creates a debuff zone that lasts for 10 seconds and reduces the defense of enemies inside it by 15%. Of course, that's actually a really good defense down, but it's only for 10 seconds, which kind of sucks. And then skill 2 increases the strength of Flame 2 adventurers in the team by 20% for 15 seconds and activates Dream Boost for 15 seconds, etc. Her co-ability is crit damage. Her skill 1 reduces susceptibility to burning by 100%. And then, of course, when he transforms into Brunhilde, our attack rate while shapeshifted increases. Her skill 2, or her second ability, is stun res, which is really good. Of course, she has burn res and stun res, but burn res really doesn't mean much. Dragonic Dream increases your attack while shapeshifted if Dream Boost is up. So you really want to get that skill 2 off before you shapeshift into your dragon, which is always going to be Brunhilde. So she's going to have really good dragon damage when she does shapeshift if you use your skill 2 off. I believe her dragon damage is the best in the game, or at least, at least top 5 in the game. So her dragon damage while shapeshifted is awesome. Again, this DPS sim does not take into account her shapeshifted damage. That's also something you need to consider. Also, her co ability is kind of RNG dependent, so I don't think I'm not sure if the calculator takes it into account, because I don't see her co ability here on the side. You guys can't really see it, but I don't see the co ability here on the side for crit damage, so I'm not sure if the DPS takes that into account either. But yeah, basically her kit revolves around support. She's not a very good DPS character. She's not centralized around DPS at all. Like if you compare her to Gleo, which is again another easily comparison thing because they're both buffing and debuffing characters. Of course, Gleo's buffs are a little bit different, just not straight off the skill 1. It's of course skill 1 and then 4 strike. But they're both buffing and debuffing characters, but Galacleo has such strong skills, mainly her skill 1, that she is a DPS character that can also buff and debuff. That's the reason she's the best character in the game. So Halloween Mim cannot do that. I feel like Cygames really tried not to do that with Halloween Mim. So that's the reason why we don't have another repeat of that Galacleo scenario. So again, I'm glad we don't have another repeat. Otherwise, Halloween Mim would be on every single team. So I'm glad that's not a thing. But again, her main thing is the buff and debuff. So if you hire up the team-wide DPS a little bit, of course, you see her slowly creeping up now, 5,100. Her team DPS really depends on how much DPS you can bring. Let's just hire it up to 10k. This is probably going to be what your team's DPS is going to be at if you're in Mercurial Gauntlet, which is again, like I said, in High Dragons, I would not recommend her. As you can see right here, the DPS difference between her and Emma as a buffer slash debuffer is just ridiculous. Emma does pretty much 1.5 times more buffing, and this is with only a skill 1 that buffs. I believe it's skill 1. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's skill 1 that buffs. Skill 2 that is a defense buff. So that just goes to show how strong Emma really is. So I would 100% recommend Emma over Halloween Mim if you're ever going to use a buffer slash debuffer on your team. And it's already been proven that Emma works in Master HMS. Halloween Mim also works in Master HMS, but you don't want to run Halloween Mim. I believe the ideal composition for Master HMS, like the #1 best composition, is Emma, Reyna, and Ramona. These are all sleep res, and then of course you want to run a Verica with them to heal their stuns. So Halloween Mim does not really have a spot in there. Of course, there's other adventures that work, like Halloween Mim, like Gala Cerise, like Student Maribel, like Marth, like there's a Makoto. There's countless adventures that can work, but the most optimal team is what I said. And of course, that's 1 buffer and 2 attackers. You don't really want to run 2 buffers and 1 attacker in a High Dragon lobby because you're depending too much on that 1 attacker to be optimal. And if it's not optimal, then your DPS is going to really low down. But if you have 2 attackers and 1 buffer, that leaves a lot more wiggle room for the DPS to kind of not be super optimal and still be good on DPS. So yeah, again, if you're using a buffer and debuffer, I would still recommend Emma. She's 4-star, more easily obtainable, etc., etc. She's just much better. Her co ability is much more consistent. Again, Halloween Mim's co ability is not consistent at all. It's very RNG dependent, but it is a good co ability. But like I said, it's just very RNG dependent. And overall, it doesn't hire your DPS very much, unless you're, of course, running Resounding Rendition on the other members of your team. Then, of course, you're going to get higher crit rate, etc. So yeah, that's probably the only place I would recommend. Again, also for DPS, Ramona is better by herself. As you can see, the range from Halloween Mim, her range is just, it's too wide of a range. That's assuming you get your skill 1 debuff zone on HMS the entire time, which is very difficult to do. So High Dragons, I would not recommend Halloween Mim. However, in Mercurial Gauntlet, that's where she really does shine. In Mercurial Gauntlet, of course, Roy does not move at all, and you can get your skill 1 off every single time, and it's going to hit him every single time. Your skill 2, it's just depending on how it goes. You can also use her on an AI member because, of course, axes have really good AI since you're just supposed to do your normal 5 chain and just keep tapping the screen. So Mercurial Gauntlet is where she really does shine. She's a very good Mercurial Gauntlet unit, as to be expected. So that part we did get right, assuming she would be a great Mercurial Gauntlet unit. She's, I believe, one of the best Mercurial Gauntlet units, especially for Flame. Flame doesn't have too many great Mercurial Gauntlet units. I would say, Emma, Halloween Mim are probably the 2 best buffers. And if you have them both, you should run them both on the same team. They're both insanely strong. Maybe not on the same team. I don't know. It really depends what your team composition is going to look like. But they're both insanely strong. Now, of course, would you run Emma or Halloween Mim on Mercurial Gauntlet? Honestly, that's debatable. I would probably still run Emma just because if you look here, the DPS difference is pretty big. But again, Halloween Mim really can work. And again, you can run them in tangent together and have a really strong thing there. So again, would I really recommend pulling for her? I would say if she's your waifu, pull for her, but if not, you really don't need her. She's not going to be needed for any content. Emma pretty much does the exact same job. And if you're looking for DPS, of course, Ramona is there as an axe. Of course, a different co-ability is a thing. But yeah, that's kind of my assessment on Halloween Mim. Now let's actually discuss Halloween Lowen really quick, since we're talking about Flame Adventures And yeah, so Halloween Lowen is not, of course, on the DPS sim since he's a healer, but we can go over here and discuss Halloween Lowen. So Halloween Lowen is actually the best flame healer in the game, I would say. In my opinion, the best flame healer in the game. Of course, when it comes to straight healing, but if you're coming on DPS-wise, then I would say actually Valentine's Hildegard is better because, of course, she energizes the entire team, whereas Halloween Lowen is just a straight-up healer. And, of course, Halloween Lowen can get his skills off at the very beginning of the fight because of skill prep 75, and force charge, which of course you need a force strike at the very beginning, and then you could use your skill 1, which it grants a defense, increases the entire team's defense for 5 seconds, which is going to help people survive the opening blast, which is very, very strong. And of course, skill 2 restores HP to all allies, and increases the max HP, which is, again, just like normal Lowen, very good. Increases max HP, increases defense, and they're both healing skills. The first one is a regen healing skill. He's just insanely strong, easily one of the best healers in the game. I would say if you could use him every single healing thing. Only difference is, of course, the reason you would use the other healers like Verica or like Valentine's Hildegard is, like I said, for DPS, Valentine's Hildegard is going to be better because she energizes the entire team. And for healing sleep res units, Verica will be better because, again, she heals stun off her skill 1, which also is a regen. So that's the only reason I would use them instead, and that's probably the only reason they are used, honestly. Other than that, Halloween Lowen is insanely good. Again, he is sleep res, not stun res, so in HMS, he's going to be stunned at the very beginning of a fight. But again, sleep res means he will be used for probably future content, maybe the end game android bosses or whatever. He will probably be used there. So we'll have to wait and see, of course. But that's the reason Halloween Lowen is so good. And like I said, definitely the best straight up flame healer in the game, in my opinion. Next up, let's talk about Howleen Odetta. Let's just go over her kit really quick since I'm already on Gamepedia. So her kit kind of looks like normal Odetta, to be completely honest. She's also a water sword instead of a light sword like normal Odetta. Basically, skill 1 is the exact same, but skill 2 actually increases the user and nearby ally strength by 20% for 15 seconds. I believe her skill 2 on the regular Odetta form was a heal, and then a nearby ally strength increased by 15% for 15 seconds. But this is 20% for 15 seconds, which is better. And of course, you miss out on the heal, but the heal really doesn't mean much. This is stun res instead of burn res on a water unit, which again means for Hyper Hilda she probably won't be used, which is again really sucky. But she does have that buff time skill. She has prime defense, which allows her for first on Valiant Crown or something, whatever you want to do with that. But overall, is she better than Summer Celery? Is she better than Xander? I would say no. I would say better than Summer Celery. I would say, yeah, Summer Celery, I would definitely use Odetta over her, Halloween Odetta. But Xander, I would say Xander's still better. Xander is just so strong off of his skills that Xander's probably better. Of course, looking at her kit, she's going to be mainly a buffer. But of course, the thing is, her skill 1, I believe it has a 40% chance to proc. So it's only a 40% chance to lower defense. And then her skill 2 only increases nearby ally strength, which is, again, High Dragons, it's probably not going to happen much. Let's just go over here and check out the water. Let's move over to water units. As you can already see, Halloween Odetta is insanely high up there. This is, of course, with the team DPS at 10,000, which is, a little bit high. I'll lower it down to, I believe, 6,000 is what it's usually at, or is it 7,000? I'll just move it down to 7,000 because that's more realistic. So I'll move it down to not 700, 7,000. This is a lot more realistic in terms of scenarios. So 7,000 team DPS. As you can see, Halloween Odetta is still way up there, of course. But if you're looking for a straight buffer, Ellie is always going to be better. Her skill 1 is much more consistent than Halloween Odetta's skill 2. And of course, you can bog if you're using Levi or whatever. It's the exact same thing for Halloween Odetta. You can bog if you're using Levi, but her skill 1 is very RNG dependent. Her skill 2 needs to be close to people. That's the only thing that I don't like about Halloween Odetta, to be completely honest. Of course, in terms of DPS, her low is, it's a little low. 4,000 would put her down here-ish, way down there if you get her low. But if you can get good RNG and if you're next to your teammates, she's actually going to be very, very strong. Of course, you can run them both together, and that would still be fine. You are going to have to really run a really strong DPS with them, though. But again, Summer Celery, I would say Halloween Odetta is better. Of course, you still need to be next to your team. You need to get lucky with RNG, etc. But Xander, I would say Xander is better strictly for his force striking. He absolutely obliterates the force strike bar, not the force strike bar, the overdrive bar on bosses. So that's the reason Xander is so strong. And of course, in challenge battle, Xander's always going to be the best choice there because of his Slayer strength. Or no, I believe it's Striker strength. So that's the reason Xander is so strong. So that's my final thoughts on Howleen Odetta. She's actually a lot better than I thought she would be. Same thing with Halloween Lowen. Both of them a lot better than I thought they would be. They're honestly, those two are probably the main stars on the Halloween banner. Of course, Halloween Mim is also there. She's also pretty good. But as for, 4 stars, super easily obtainable, and you probably got them if you did pull on the banner. So they're both actually very good, like I said. Next up, I'm going to talk about Halloween Maritimus. Let's just go over Halloween Maritimus really quickly. So his first skill, and his first skill, his only skill is Hocus Pocus. He's a dragon. This creates a buff zone that lasts for 10 seconds and increases the skill damage of adventures inside it by 30%. That's actually very strong. For HBH, if you use that, and then your Leviathans on the team use their skills, it's going to be insanely strong damage. As you know, Leviathan's skill is already insanely strong. Of course, abilities water HP by 30% and water skill haste by 35%. This is just like Freya, but for water. I'm glad we're getting more of these skill haste dragons. I want to see them spread out to all the elements, honestly. But yeah, so Halloween Maritimus is very good, just judging by that. I don't think we see Halloween Maritimus on the DPS at all, which is kind of unfortunate. Maybe if we hire up the team-wide DPS to like 9,000, we'll see him somewhere. Nope, we don't. Maybe if we change it to like 120 seconds instead. Nope, we don't see him. So we don't really see Halloween Maritimus here, which kind of sucks. But he's actually very good for a couple units. I would say mainly Elisan and Thaniel. That's where he really shines for those two units, because Elisan is a straight buffer. As you can see right here, this is all the buffing she can do. And Maritimus, of course, helps her buff get her first skill 1 in 2 full chains rather than, a chain, a 4-strike, and then another chain. Maybe even another 4-strike if you're missing a lot of skill haste or something. So Halloween Maritimus is really good for that regard. And for Thaniel, he lets Thaniel get off his skills very easily, in terms of his heals. Because, of course, Thaniel's heals are kind of tight in HBH. Mainly Expert. However, apparently in Master, heals are not as tight because HBH has extra moves, which allows extra time for Thaniel to get those heals off. So it's probably going to be better for you to just run Leviathan or like Poseidon or HMC or something. So overall, Halloween Maritimus, how good is he? He's good. Is he the best? He's not the best, but he's actually pretty good. He's definitely, he has a usage for him for sure, for Elisan and for Thaniel. For those two in specific, I would really not recommend using him on the other units, but for those two specifically, he actually has a really good use, and he is useful for. So that's pretty much that's everything I have to say about these units. Again, overall, it's actually a very solid unit, one of the most solid banners we've had in a while. I would say, of course, we've had better banners, but in terms of usefulness, they're all useful, but are any of them actually necessary? Not really. Like, if you have HMC, Max and Binded, you don't need him. If you have, different units, you don't need them. But for newer players who maybe don't have these things, Halloween Maritimus is a very good 2-for-1 special, because if you get Halloween Maritimus, Max and Binded, you can use them either on a DPS like Elisan, which is, DPS support, or you can use them on a healer like Thaniel. So you have 2 different options which you can go. Whereas, if you get Leviathan, you're pretty much stuck. You're going to be doing DPS the entire time or something. But yeah, if you're Halloween Maritimus, you can change up between Elisan and Thaniel. And of course, Halloween Lowen, an amazing healer, easily one of the best, especially for challenge battles or something. You could throw him on the team. He's going to be an insanely good healer. Halloween Odetta, very good, surprise pick there. How good she is. Of course, it's a little RNG dependent, a little luck dependent, but she's still very strong. And of course, Halloween Mim is a little bit of a letdown, to be completely honest, but she's still pretty good. She's not bad. It's just a bit of a letdown compared to what she could have been. That's the main thing I want to get across. It's a bit of a letdown compared to what she could have been. But overall, she's still pretty good. All the units are good. Again, like I said, the main shines are the 4-star units of this banner. Of course, the banner's already done, so you can't really pull on it anymore. But yeah, that's kind of my analysis on this banner. Again, let me know what you guys thought. Did you pull on this banner back when it was going up? If you did pull on it, what'd you get? Maybe you pulled Halloween Ellie or something. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be everything. Again, let me know what you guys think about this banner, what you guys thought about the banner, etc., etc. You guys know the drill. Hope you guys have a great day, and until next time, have a nice trip.